Hello, my name is Conor Fadgen and I'm the National Governance Officer from Badminton Ireland. We've made this brief presentation to bring you through the current situation with COVID-19 and how we can manage ourselves in returning to play. This presentation is based on the protocols that are currently being distributed to clubs. The protocols which have been developed are outlined in three separate documents, one for players, one for coaches and one for clubs, and this presentation will focus on the club document. So looking at the first steps our club must take, Number one is appointing a club COVID-19 officer. This role will entail advocating and implementing best practices as outlined in our protocols in preventing COVID-19 spreading in our clubs. Badminton Ireland has a role description outlined for the club COVID-19 officer, which is available in the COVID-19 resources section of the Badminton Ireland website. Badminton Ireland are also developing an online training for our club COVID-19 officers, which will be sent out shortly. And we will also have additional resources available on the website as well, so keep an eye on that. We will also have an online compliance form, which we expect clubs to fill out, which will inform us of who their club COVID-19 officer is. The responsibility of preventing the spread of the virus is not simply on the shoulders of the club COVID-19 officers. There is a collective responsibility in all those participating in the club to ensure we are acting and behaving in the best interests of everyone. If there is any questions on the role of the club COVID-19 officer, please get in touch with me, though we will cover it in the next slide in quite some detail. So in terms of the role of the club COVID-19 officer, the first step that the officer would be taking would be to review the Badminton Ireland COVID-19 risk assessment. So Badminton Ireland have developed a template for this, and it's there to assist the club COVID-19 officer in working with the club committee to ensure action is taken to mitigate risk. Club COVID-19 officer will also ensure that the club is cooperating with public health guidance, so physical distancing, hand hygiene and the use of sports equipment. Also to ensure that the online compliance form has been completed and returned to Badminton Ireland. So this will outline who the club COVID-19 officer is. Ensuring that guidelines are printed off and in view at their badminton club, along with any other relevant club pack materials which Badminton Ireland will send out to the clubs. And as well as that, ensuring that the club has adequate resources such as PPE, cleaning products and sanitizer, and that they're in stock within their club. So working with the venue provider to ensure that these are available. It's also important that the club has a disclaimer form available to its members and that the club COVID-19 officer will keep this as a record. As well as that, it's important that there's a log of participants maintained with regards to club nights for the purposes of contact tracing. As well as that, it's important that all the contact details for participants and those attending the club nights are correct. The officer will also be a positive advocate for physical distancing and hygiene practices within the badminton club and will be there to monitor sessions to ensure that this is being done. The officer will also develop and manage a plan for cleaning the facility before and after club night, and this will be done in consultation with the venue provider. And as well as that, then to ensure that all members who have been contacted and are aware of the protocols in place due to the COVID-19 restrictions. It's very important that officers have read the protocols which have been distributed by Badminton Ireland, and if there is any questions, they should be free to get in touch with us. When we look into the club protocols, we know that clubs will be different in terms of what facilities they are using. Numbers within clubs will vary. So in drafting these protocols, we have taken these into consideration as best we can. However, the overriding restrictions from government are what we must be adhering to and be conscious of within our clubs. The guidance within the document is broken up into 8 different areas, and our next slide will look at these as a step-by-step process. The first step is to appoint the club COVID-19 officer, as we have already gone through in some detail. Venue access looks at who should have access to the venue. So that's appointed club officers, supervisors, coaches, scheduled coach, and obviously we would encourage that there's one parent per juvenile playing. These people need to be included on the participants log for an evening. In terms of the booking and arrival, this process is about having a clear arrival protocol communicated to all members, as things will have changed in all club facilities. Ensure members' contact details are correct and that physical distancing can be maintained throughout the entry process to the facility. In terms of the venue facilities, we have to look at how we use the facilities, what cleaning protocols the club are putting in place, which will be identified in the risk assessment in consultation with the facility owners or providers. In this phase, access to dressing rooms should not be available, so it is important that players are communicated with on this. Players should use their own equipment. If the clubs provide equipment, they should be cleaned with a sanitizer prior to play, assigned to an individual player, and cleaned straight after use. In terms of step 5, we would encourage that there is singles play only. Doubles are played only where individuals are from the same household. At this particular phase, there should be no spectators other than those that we've already identified, and it's important that all items brought by players are taken home afterwards. We would like to encourage as well that physical distancing is an important part, and it's adhered to throughout. In terms of on the court playing, it's also important that players refrain from physical contact. Players should be encouraged to bring their own hand sanitizer also. In terms of the use of shuttles, players should bring their own shuttles and have them distinctively marked. Players should handle their own shuttles only and take them home with them at the end of play. If the club is providing shuttles, they should have the same process in place and disinfect the shuttles after use. Shuttles should be changed for different groups. Step 7, coaches should get permission from club in terms of actually going in and coaching. And in terms of that as well, there should be a review of the risk assessment document that the club COVID-19 officer has signed off on. At all times, the clubs should only have affiliated members playing in their club. The same check should be carried out by a club regarding the coaching of juveniles. So that is checking that they are vetted through Badminton Ireland, they have valid safeguarding training and a coaching qualification. Players should not be touching any coaching equipment. And again, the same principles are in place for making sure that all items that have been brought to the venue are taken home. The final step in the process, we're at a stage now where we're looking to get home safely. Players must leave promptly once the session is finished. There should be sanitizer available on the way out of the facility, and a cleaning procedure, as we have stated previously, should be agreed with the facility provider. It should be communicated to all members that if they feel unwell after a session, that they contact their GP and the club COVID-19 officer. Any case where a person informs a club that they may have contracted the virus, it should be kept confidential as to who may have contracted it. It is in the vital interest of the people who may have been in the presence of the person that they are informed as part of contact tracing. So, in order to look at the first 5 steps that a club should take, the first step, which most of you have probably already undertaken, is to consult with your facility provider on what steps can be worked on to return to play. The second step then is looking at appointing a club COVID-19 officer and communicate this appointment with your members. The third step then is for the club COVID-19 officer to review the COVID-19 risk assessment. As part of that then, you will identify what actions need to be taken to minimise the risk. And from that then, responsibility can be assigned to different actions. The club COVID-19 officer cannot be expected to do everything, so there needs to be assistance from the club committee to get the club operating in a safe manner. I'd like to thank you all for watching. We will have further resources and information coming soon, so keep an eye on the Badminton Ireland website where we have a COVID-19 section. If you have any questions, please get in touch with me on my contact details provided.